What if I told you that your body doesn't even start tapping into real fat burning until long after you finish your last bite? That while you're going about your day not eating, your body is quietly switching fuel systems, changing hormones, and even turning on deep cellular repair programs you can't see or feel happening. In this video, I'm walking you through exactly what happens inside your body when you eat once a day, hour by hour, so you understand the science behind the hunger, the energy shifts, and the fat loss potential. And by the end, you might never look at skipping a meal. The same way again, one of the biggest misconceptions about fasting or eating once a day is the idea that your body flips instantly into fat burning mode the moment you finish a meal. But that's not how human metabolism actually works. Right after you eat, your body is focused on dealing with the incoming nutrients. Carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, which enters your bloodstream and raises blood sugar. In response, your pancreas releases insulin, a storage hormone whose main job is to move that glucose out of the blood and into your cells to be used or stored. As long as insulin is elevated, your body is strongly encouraged to burn glucose for energy and to store excess fuel, not to release body fat. During these first few hours after eating, you are primarily running on the meal you just consumed. If your meal included carbs, those carbs are the preferred fuel source because they are easy for your body to use quickly. Any extra glucose that isn't immediately needed gets stored as glycogen in your liver and muscles. Glycogen is basically your body's short-term energy reserve, like a rechargeable battery pack you carry around for later. At this stage, fat burning is not zero, but it is relatively low because insulin is still telling your fat cells to hold on to their stored energy. As time passes and you move further away from your meal, insulin levels begin to fall. This is a key turning point. Lower insulin acts like a green light for fat burning, but your body still doesn't jump straight to body fat as its main fuel source. Instead, it turns first to glycogen. Your liver starts breaking down its stored glycogen and releasing glucose into the bloodstream to keep your brain and other organs supplied with energy. This process can cover your needs for many hours, especially if you ate a decent amount of carbohydrates in your last meal. Only after glycogen stores start running low does your body significantly increase its reliance on stored body fat. This usually happens many hours into the fasting period, not immediately after you stop eating. As insulin remains low and glycogen becomes depleted, your fat cells begin breaking down triglycerides into fatty acids, which are released into the bloodstream and used by muscles and other tissues for fuel. Your liver also starts converting some of these fatty acids into ketones, which can help power your brain when glucose availability drops. This gradual transition is why short gaps between meals often don't lead to much fat burning. If you snack every few hours, you keep refilling glycogen and bumping insulin back up, which means your body rarely needs to tap deeply into fat stores. Longer fasting windows, on the other hand, give your system enough time to move through the fed state, use up glycogen, and finally shift into a state where body fat becomes a major energy source, which is where real metabolic change begins to take shape inside your cells and energy systems while appetite signals, hormone levels, and fuel availability continue adjusting behind the scenes as your body balances survival, efficiency, and performance in response to not having new food coming in for an extended stretch of time. A lot of people assume that hunger means their body is running out of fuel and urgently needs food, but hunger is far more influenced by hormones, habits, and timing than by an actual energy emergency. One of the main hormones involved is ghrelin, often called the hunger hormone. Ghrelin is released primarily in the stomach, and its levels rise and fall in a predictable rhythm throughout the day. What's fascinating is the ghrelin doesn't just rise because your body is low on calories. It rises around the times you usually eat, which means your hunger is partly scheduled by routine, not just by need. If you normally eat breakfast at 8 a.m., lunch at noon, and a snack at 3 p.m., your body learns that pattern. Over time, ghrelin starts increasing shortly before those pre-which times, almost like an internal alarm clock, reminding you that food is expected. This is why you can feel very hungry at your usual lunch hour, even if you had a large late breakfast, or why you might not feel hungry at all on a busy morning when you skip breakfast but stay distracted. Your body is responding not only to energy levels, but also to learned behavior and environmental cues. Another interesting thing about hunger is that it often comes in waves rather than building steadily until you eat. A ghrelin surge can make you feel quite hungry for 15 to 30 minutes, but if you don't eat right away, that feeling often fades. This surprises many people when they first experiment with longer gaps between meals. They expect hunger to get worse and worse, but instead they notice it rises, peaks, and then drops, even without food. That's because hormones fluctuate, and your body shifts to using stored energy in the background, which reduces the urgency signal. Emotions, stress, and environment also play a huge role. Seeing food, smelling it, or even just sitting down to watch TV at a time you usually snack can trigger hunger signals. This is partly driven by dopamine and learned reward pathways in the brain. Your body and brain associate certain activities or times of day with eating, and the anticipation alone can make you feel hungry, even if your energy stores are perfectly adequate. This kind of hunger feels very real, but it's different from true physiological need. When you understand that hunger is not always an emergency, it becomes easier to respond calmly instead of reactively. Feeling hungry doesn't automatically mean your body is in danger or losing muscle. Often, it simply means your hormones are doing their normal rhythmic thing. If you wait a bit, drink some water, or shift your focus, you may notice the intensity drops. Over time, if you change your eating schedule, your ghrelin patterns can also shift, and those strong hunger waves at old mealtimes can become weaker or disappear altogether as your body adapts to a new routine and learns that fuel timing has changed, reducing the frequency and intensity of those automatic hunger signals while your metabolism continues to rely on stored energy reserves in a stable and controlled way somewhere around the middle of a long fasting window. Your body begins making one of its most important metabolic transitions, shifting from relying mostly on glucose to relying more heavily on fat and ketones for fuel. This shift doesn't happen instantly, and it's not an all-or-nothing switch. It's a gradual change in the balance of what your body is using for energy. Early on after a meal, glucose from carbohydrates is the dominant fuel source because it's readily available and easy to burn. But as the hours pass and you stop eating, blood sugar levels stabilize and insulin drops, which opens the door for other fuel systems to step in. As liver glycogen, your stored form of carbohydrate, starts to run low, your body increases the breakdown of stored fat. Fat cells release fatty acids into the bloodstream, and many tissues, especially muscles, begin using these fatty acids directly for energy. At the same time, your liver starts converting some of these fatty acids into molecules called ketones. Ketones are a powerful alternative fuel, especially for the brain, which normally depends heavily on glucose. This ability to produce and use ketones is a built-in survival mechanism that allows humans to function even when food isn't coming in regularly. This transition toward greater fat and ketone use is often described as improving metabolic flexibility. Metabolic flexibility is your body's ability to switch smoothly between different fuel sources depending on what's available. Someone who eats frequently, especially a high carbohydrate diet with constant snacking, may spend most of their time burning incoming glucose and stored glycogen, with relatively little need to tap into fat stores. In contrast, longer fasting periods train the body to access stored fat more efficiently, making the shift between fuels feel more natural and less stressful. Many people report changes in how they feel during this transition phase. Once the body gets better at using fat and ketones, energy levels can feel steadier, because they're no longer riding the ups and downs of frequent blood sugar spikes and crashes. Some also describe improved mental clarity or focus. While experiences vary, one reason may be that ketones provide a consistent energy supply for the brain, and stable blood sugar reduces the roller coaster effect that can come from frequent high-carb meals. However, this adaptation can take time. Early on, when someone first starts extending their fasting window, the body may not be efficient at producing and using ketones yet. This can lead to temporary fatigue, brain fog, or irritability as the system learns to rely less on constant glucose intake. With consistency, many people find these symptoms lessen as metabolic flexibility improves and the body becomes more comfortable switching between fuel sources depending on availability, activity level, and hormonal signals, creating a more resilient energy system that is less dependent on frequent eating and better able to draw from internal reserves when needed. One of the reasons longer fasting windows have gained so much attention isn't just because of fat burning, but because of what may be happening at the cellular level when your body goes without food for an extended period. When nutrients are constantly coming in, your cells stay in growth and storage mode. Insulin and other signals tell them that energy is plentiful, so the focus is on building, storing, and reproducing. But when you stop eating for many hours, those signals shift. Lower insulin and reduced nutrient availability tell your cells that it's time to become more efficient. And this is where internal repair processes like autophagy begin to play a bigger role. Autophagy is often described as a kind of cellular housekeeping. The word literally means self-eating, but that doesn't mean your body is harming itself. Instead, cells start breaking down old, damaged, or dysfunctional components and recycling their parts. Proteins that are misfolded, worn out mitochondria, and other cellular debris can be cleared away and reused to build new, healthier structures. This process helps cells function more efficiently and may play a role in long-term health and resilience. It's not a dramatic overnight transformation, but a slow, ongoing maintenance system that becomes more active under certain conditions, including fasting. When you eat frequently throughout the day, especially meals high in carbohydrate and protein, pathways in the body that sense nutrient abundance remain active. One of these pathways, often discussed in research, is linked to growth and building. While growth is important, constant activation may reduce the time your cells spend in repair mode. Fasting periods, on the other hand, lower these growth signals and increase signals associated with stress resistance and repair. In simple terms, your body shifts from grow and store to maintain and clean up. Longer fasting windows, like those seen with eating once a day, may extend the time your body spends in this repair-focused state. Animal studies have shown increases in autophagy during fasting. And while human research is more complex and still developing, many scientists believe similar processes occur in us as well. It's important to understand that autophagy isn't a switch that suddenly turns on at a specific hour. It gradually increases as fasting continues and decreases again once you eat and growth signals rise. This doesn't mean more fasting is always better. Your body also needs nutrients, protein, and energy to rebuild tissues, support immune function, and maintain muscle. The benefits come from the balance between feeding and fasting, between building and repairing. Eating once a day stretches the repair window for some people, but it still needs to be paired with a nutrient-dense meal that provides the raw materials your body needs to actually rebuild after that cleanup phase. Allowing cycles of breakdown and renewal to work together over time in a way that supports overall function, cellular efficiency, and long-term metabolic health without pushing the system into chronic stress or deprivation that could have the opposite effect. It's easy to look at eating once a day and think the timing alone is what creates results. But the truth is that this pattern is only a tool, not a magic solution. Your body still responds to the total amount and quality of food you eat, even if it's all in one sitting. If that single meal is low in protein, missing key nutrients, or packed with ultra-processed foods, you can still struggle with low energy, muscle loss, poor recovery, and stalled progress. Fasting changes when you eat, but what you eat continues to shape your hormones, body composition, and overall health in a major way. Protein is especially important in a once-a-day approach. Your body relies on a steady supply of amino acids to maintain and repair muscle tissue, produce enzymes and hormones, and support immune function. When you compress all your food into one meal, that meal needs to contain enough high-quality protein to meet your daily needs. Otherwise, over time, your body may break down muscle tissue to fill the gap. That can slow your metabolism and make you feel weaker, even if the number on the scale goes down. Total calorie intake also still matters. Some people naturally eat less when they switch to one meal a day, which can lead to fat loss because they're in a calorie deficit. But it's also possible to overeat in that one meal, especially if you arrive extremely hungry and choose highly palatable, calorie-dense foods. In that case, you might not see the results you expect. Fasting doesn't override the basic energy balance of the body, it simply changes the structure of your eating pattern. Micronutrients are another piece that can get overlooked. Vitamins, minerals, and fiber support everything from digestion and energy production to heart health and brain function. When you eat fewer meals, each meal has to work harder nutritionally. Meals built around vegetables, fruits, quality protein sources, healthy fats, and whole food carbohydrates are much more likely to support your body than meals centered on refined snacks or fast food, even if the timing is the same. It's also important to recognize that eating once a day isn't a good fit for everyone. Some people feel energized and focused, while others experience constant fatigue, poor sleep, mood swings, or an unhealthy obsession with food. Highly active individuals, people trying to build muscle, those with certain medical conditions, and anyone with a history of disordered eating may need a different approach. The goal is to support your body, not to force it into a routine that creates more stress than benefit. Sustainable progress comes from paying attention to how your body responds over time. Strength, mood, sleep quality, digestion, and overall performance in daily life are just as important as body weight. When meal timing, food quality, and total intake work together, eating once a day can be one strategy among many, but it works best as part of a bigger picture that includes balanced nutrition, movement, recovery, and flexibility rather than rigid rules that ignore your body's signals and long-term needs.